According to Shams Charania, the Sacramento Kings have decided to fire Mike Brown after a poor start to this regular season in which they went 13 and 18 in the win-loss column. So they're playing below 500 basketball. But I just assumed that the way they lost last night to the Detroit Pistons was the final deciding factor in firing Mike Brown. They lost in an epic way, which is very rare in this NBA, in which they were up by 3, 113, 110 with several seconds left. Detroit gets the ball, and I forget who gets fouled, but it was a foul after this guy made the three-pointer. So it was like an and one, which resulted in a 4-point play. Obviously a very stupid foul. Just definitely a screw up. That's something you do blame on coaching for not being smart. It's the head coach's job to ingrain into his guys, don't foul behind the 3-point line. And obviously that's a sign of bad coaching right there in that one split second. So you can't feel bad for Mike Brown. They performed terribly this year. I never expected the Kings to be a great team heading into the season, but you would think with what they have on their team, they could at least manage to be a 500 team. They're not special. I do think signing DeMar DeRozan, aka Dum Dum, that's always been my nickname for him because he just plays stupidly. And I just remember the misery of having him on my team as a Spurs fan. I have never enjoyed DeMar's game. I just don't think he's a winner. And I saw it when he was with the Spurs, just his temperament, his mentality, just he sulks a lot. He's very moody. So I thought that was a bad signing when they signed him. Granted, I was happy with this signing because it resulted in the Spurs getting Harrison Barnes, which to me is a great trade-off. So, it's worked out. Harrison's been a great veteran for the Spurs, and I think he's played a role in helping them to be a solid team this year. But DeMar has been the opposite for the Kings. They have gotten worse with him, despite him putting up better numbers than Harrison, which shows that it doesn't always show up in the box scores like an impacted player has on your team. But I definitely think they miss Barnes, and if they could do it over again, they would have never signed DeMar DeRozan. So that was a bad move by them, and it definitely set up Mike Brown to be in a bad position to fail. But I have never viewed Mike Brown as a great coach. To me, just he's average at best, I would say. During his first stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers, he was a defensive first coach. They were great at playing defense, but I remember he didn't know how to run an offense at all. It was one of the many reasons LeBron left Cleveland, because he didn't have faith in Mike Brown when it came to constructing an offense that would be conducive to winning a title. So that was his biggest weakness. Interestingly enough, he would eventually become the assistant coach of the Warriors after having a pit stop with the Lakers, which failed. So he would be an assistant with the Warriors. He would adopt their offensive game, which he learned by being the assistant to Steve Kerr, obviously. So he implemented his first year with the Kings, and they had great success. They were in third place in the West. It looked like their future was promising. And then they lost to the Warriors in 7 games in the first round. That series, to me, just sent them into a tailspin because they didn't really bounce back from that. You thought they were going to build on what they did that during that season by being third in the West, but they ended up next year missing the playoffs despite having, I would say, a good record. 46-36 is what they had last season. So they were playing above 500 basketball, but it shows you how hard the West is to get into the playoffs. And based on that season alone, you couldn't fire Mike Brown because they were at least playing above average basketball. But this season, he's completely lost the team. They're no longer, I would say, a great offensive team. When I checked their metrics for offense this year, they are ranked 11th in the league. So I wouldn't say that's great. They're not even in the top 10. And when it comes to defense, they're ranked 17th in the league. So that results in a mediocre team. When you're not dominant in one of those metrics, it's going to result in most likely you being a sub 500 team, which they are right now. So yeah, he deserved to be fired. I definitely believe that, but I don't think there's a quick fix to the Sacramento team. I don't know how you fix it. What do you add to this team? But they probably have to fix the small forward position, I would say. They don't have a 3 and D guy to plug in there, and just there's probably several other things they're going to have to fix. I did like Sabonis, though. I always thought he's a really good player. Not a great player, but I would say a good player. So they have that going for them, and he's still young. He's 28. He's in his prime. He's having an all-star level season when you look at his stats, but obviously I haven't watched the Kings this year to see like what's his true impact on the court, so I got to be honest about that. And they had De'Aaron Fox, who to me has always impressed me since college because of his quick speed. He's a blur out there, so whoever takes over the job long term will have those two guys to work with them being the cornerstones of the team. And now it's up to the new coach to put together a system that can allow a lot of the Kings to win with these guys on both ends of the court. That'll be interesting to see and play what was implemented. I know Doug Christie is now the interim head coach of this team. I doubt he'll probably be hired beyond the season, but you never know. Maybe if he turns it around and they start playing winning basketball for the rest of the season, their ownership might have a change of heart and make him the head coach. I've seen these things happen before, but we'll see. So I don't really have much to say about Sacramento, but long term, going forward, they're a team that looks to me like if they have the right coaching and the right group of players around Fox and Sabonis, I don't ever see them being an elite team, but more like a middle of the pack team. That's kind of like their ceiling, probably somewhere around like 4 through 6 in the West at best. That's really the potential of that team if they make the right moves. So that's all I have to say.